We're here for a review hearing and permanency planning. Mr. Sommerfeld, how are we to proceed today?
Judge, I know that Wellspring, Miss Hughes, filed a lot of documents. I could identify them. I would ask that they be admitted into the record, and then I would like to call Miss Hughes for some testimony.
All right, I can take care of the documents. I just didn't know if there was anything else that was going to be up for today as well. So the documentation that I have received includes the Wellspring updated court report for the children. It's dated 5/13 of 25. Case service plan dated 2/4 of 25. Parent agency treatment plans, a number of them dated 2/4 of 25. A psychological evaluation for Sarah Smith dated 3/18 of 25. A psychological evaluation for Zachary Pace Black dated 3/17 of 25. Verification of counseling for Mr. Pace Black, verification of employment for Mr. Pace Black, and foster care supportive visitation and in-home parent education weekly progress reports from February through May of 2025. Any other documentation that you're aware of, Mr. Sommerfeld?
No, you got it, Judge.
All right. Then we'll call Ms. Hughes as the first witness. Ms. Hughes, can I see your, you're really, really dark, so all I'm seeing is black.
Yeah, and I'm not real sure if it's just the lighting in our room. Does that make it a little better?
That's a little better. Thank you. Thank you very much. If you raise your right hand so I can swear you in, please. You swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
All right. Thank you very much. State your full name, spell your last name, please.
Kelly Hughes. Last name is Hughes.
Mr. Sommerfeld, go ahead.
Thank you, Judge. Miss Hughes, how are you employed?
I am a foster care caseworker through Wellspring Lutheran Services.
All right, and you're familiar with Seth and James Pace?
I am.
All right, and are you providing services to those children and their parents?
Yes, I am.
Okay. We've got some psychological evaluations. I'd like to talk with Mom. Are you asking the court to incorporate those recommendations into Mom's parent agency treatment plan?
Yes, we are.
Okay. And we will be taking steps forward to rule out different diagnoses?
Yes, we are. I am actually working with her therapist right now. We've had some conversations together, and the two of us are working together to try to find a psychiatrist that would be able to do the ruling out of the diagnoses that Mr. Strauss has indicated within that report at this time.
Okay, and this report, the psychological evaluation, it will be provided to service providers to aid in providing services?
Yes, that is correct. We would ask that the courts we're asking for the courts to order that both Sarah Smith and Zachary Pace Black sign a release of information for the psychological evaluations to better support the recommendations specifically that were indicated within those psychological evaluations.
Okay, in addition to finding potentially a psychiatrist to rule out certain diagnoses, there's other diagnoses. How will those be handled as it relates to Sarah Smith?
So as to Sarah Smith, her therapist will receive a copy of the psychological evaluation, and she will be targeting the key areas, which is working on the trauma piece as recommended in the psychological evaluation, and the other areas that were also recommended. As far as the family and the parenting coaching goes, we are looking at two different possibilities to help support her in those. One is doing a re-referral for foster care supportive visitation would be one of our first options. However, that does require a special approval at the state level in order to have that second run through with that. So that's something that they have to put in front of a board that would have to give approval as to whether or not she could do it a second time around. The other option is to potentially have her and one of her children participate in what's known as parent-child interaction therapy. The only concern we have with that is because of her child's special needs and limited cognitive abilities. We're not sure how that would work because it would have to be done by a virtual platform versus an in-person platform because there's not a PCIT therapist in the area.
Okay, and when you're talking the child you were referencing is Seth?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. And just to point out a distinction that James, for all practical purposes, is developing normally.
At this time, he is. That was a recommendation based on the genetic testing of his brother Seth, that all family members, including mom, dad, and brother, all be tested for the genetic and chromosomal variant that Seth has been diagnosed with, because there is a 50-50% chance that all family members would have it. So it's a pretty high percentage, and they feel like it would help also treat Seth moving forward.
Okay, and is that something we'll be taking steps to do in the future?
Yeah, we actually have an appointment on, I believe it's the 19th of June, where we will be traveling to Grand Rapids with Dad and Seth. Dad will have his testing done that day, and we will request brothers and mom's testing done that day too. Mom will actually be participating in that appointment virtually as well, due to the no contact order between mom and dad.
Okay, next I'd like to talk about Mr. Pace, the dad here. He had a psychological evaluation and there are some recommendations. What will we be doing as far as parenting classes?
So for parenting classes for Mr. Pace is going to be a little bit more challenging because based on the outcome of his evaluation, it'll be a little bit challenging as far as having him do virtual, like parenting courses through Bright Course and whatnot. So we are going to do a re-referral as well for him for the foster care supported visitation as well. And we're trying to see if that is approved, how we can coordinate doing the visit and then an extra hour of parenting time following that teaching to just better assess his ability to retain the information that he's being taught.
Okay, and these were due to lower scores regarding having empathy and nurturing skills?
That is correct, yes.
Okay. What about counseling for Mr. Pace?
So also, that is another reason why we're asking for the release of information. We'd like to share the psychological evaluation with his current counselor, Jeanette Sayer, who is able to meet some of the recommendations that are within, or the recommendations that are within the psychological evaluation, but would benefit from being able to review that psychological evaluation to put that as part of the treatment team, the treatment plan for them.
Okay, and what about there's also a recommendation for a visitation coach. First, please tell me what that is and how we will address it.
So the visitation coach, what they're asking for is to have somebody in the room with him, to have him like creating routines, creating what a bedtime routine would look like, creating what a what an emergency routine would look like, what a school day routine would look like, what a meal routine would look like, just really breaking that down piece by piece. So in order to cover that need domain, our plan was to do the re-referral for foster care supportive visitation, as well as having our supervising staff right now be in the room with him to help monitor that a little bit better and give some more guiding and coaching, as well as some visual resources.
Okay, now your report indicates that Dad here is made about 75% of his parenting time. Are there any, you know, excuses that would work for missing out on 1/4 of parenting time?
So for dad, he has missed 25% of his parenting times. And the excuses that we're getting is he's overslept in most of those cases. He was working with his employer to try to get his work schedule changed because he works late nights. But overall, it was him. He would confirm with us the night before as required. He would confirm with us the morning of, but then just not show up. So stating he would fall back asleep, or just sleep through his alarms. We asked him to set alarms. We instructed how he could set alarms on his phone, setting multiple alarms on his phone. And those are the excuses that we're getting from dad.
Okay, now mom, in this case, your report indicates has only went to about 50% of the parenting times. Can you talk about that?
So the majority of mom's misses are due to medical concerns. That is what she's reporting. She has reported that she has several medical documents for me, but she has yet to provide those to me. She was just recently in the hospital. I do know that. That was confirmed. That is her main complaints, is that she is not feeling well. She's still not feeling well. However, some of the reasons why she's calling out: ear infection, pain. There's been a few where she's overslept, a few where she's just not called too late. But I would say the majority of hers are from medical, is what she's reporting. But again, like I said, I don't have, other than her telling me it's medical, any confirmation that that's what's going on.
Okay. Does mom have issues with, your report indicates she's been living at a hotel. She may have to live in her truck. And does she really, is she looking for some type of a house that would be suitable for return of her children?
So mom did just message me yesterday and told me that she may have a housing situation where she is going to be able to get a home. It's looking like the 3rd of June, potentially. They were working out some of those other details, but as of right now, she has been in the hotel, and this has been ongoing. Since the case started, she has lived in a actual suitable home for approximately 3 months in Grayling at an apartment complex. Other than that, it's been either homeless, living with somebody else, or living in a hotel.
Okay, and has her employment been sporadic? I know that in the psychological evaluation, she was saying she was working at the Odawa casino, and then your report later indicated that she was not there anymore, and that's something that you found out rather than like being told.
Yes, that is correct. In fact, actually, I asked her if she was still working at the Odawa casino, asked her to provide me with verification. She said she was not there right now and wasn't able to do so. I did call and follow up on that, and had talked with the HR department at Odawa Casino, who confirmed that she was no longer employed. She did confirm that she is working at the Otsego golf course here in Gaylord in the food and beverage department, but that is like within the last week. I have not gotten confirmation or any verification of that employment. And her employment has been very, very sporadic. She will state, however, we have not been able to get any verification of any source of income from those 2 jobs.
Okay. And have you met this guy, she's been staying with her. His name is Ben. I think it's Small.
I have not ever met Ben personally myself. No, he's never been there. When I did go to the home in Grayling to assess that home, he was not home at the time.
Okay, is he going to be part of reunification here? Do you know?
I would have to defer to Sarah on that. She has not told me that he would be at this point. If he and her are continuing to be a roommate situation, then he would be part of the reunification program, I would believe.
Okay, so you're asking to continue the goal of reunification?
Yes, we are asking to continue the goal of reunification with Sarah right now as we process through some of these other need domains that were brought forth as part of the psychological evaluation.
Okay, and you're asking the court to order the recommendations for each respective parent into the plan for reunification.
That is correct.
And you're also looking for parenting time to continue. Is that supervised or unsupervised at the discretion of the department?
Yeah, so right now the parenting time is supervised. I do not believe we have discretion for unsupervised, nor would we necessarily be requesting that at this time. We would like to ask if we could do the visits at 1 per week for each parent on opposite days to allow for a longer period of time to better assess the parents' abilities, because right now they're doing 1 parenting time a week. We're only asking to take it down to 1 parenting time for 2 hours. Part of that is also to decrease the travel for the children. The children are traveling quite far, and Seth is not really handling that very well. Over the last 6 to 8 weeks, he's been having ongoing issues with stool incontinence following and prior to parenting times coming, just because he seems to not be handling the travel real well.
All right. And just to confirm, the children are in separate placements?
They are in separate placements at this time, yes.
And are both placements appropriate for the children?
They are, yes.
All right. Do you have anything else you would like to offer today or ask the court for?
Not at this time.
All right. Thank you, Judge. Nothing further.
Mr. Delaney, your questions?
What is or has been mom's hurdle with housing? Because it appears she has employment. Are you aware of what the issue may be, except when she's not working and doesn't have the income?
So I know when she was living in the house in Grayling, the apartment complex in Grayling, it appeared that income would have been the barrier for her in that home. There was an arrearage that needed to be paid. She does say that there was some other issues there and that arrearage was waived. Again, I don't know the whole logistics there. I also believe that it has a lot to do with income, the financial aspect of things, as well as housing in general in the geographical area is not real strong.
What is the department's ability to provide assistance with housing?
So our department's ability to provide assistance with housing is to just provide recommendations to MDHHS, to NEMSCA, to the refuge, to shelters. I provide them with, photos or housings that I come across that are inexpensive, helping them with Section 8 housing application processes. But as far as financial support, our department does not provide any type of financial support.
Aside from housing, what is the one or two things that are most important for mom to be doing now?
Aside from housing would be her just getting that psychological or psychiatric evaluation completed to rule out those other diagnoses that are in question, as well as continuing to work through that trauma piece and attending and being consistent with her parenting times. That has had a real impact on her children and her bond.
Right, thank you.
All right, Mr. Brown, your questions.
I have no questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Gilo?
No questions.
All right. Ms. Hughes, you've indicated that the children remain separated. Could you flesh that out a little bit more as to the reason why, please?
Yeah, so Seth, so I'm going to backdate a little bit just to educate. So Seth and James, when they first came into care, were placed together. Seth was experiencing some significant emotional dysregulation and behavioral concerns. Their initial placement asked for Seth to be removed. They were willing to keep James at that time. And so we removed Seth to a home that was better equipped to be able to handle some of the behaviors that Seth was experiencing. We were able to get him into OT and PT services, speech services, for the sensory processing, gross motor and all of that through that home. That home was never intended to be a long-term and or a concurrent placement. That home was intended to utilize the resources that the family was able to provide, because they also have special needs child in their home and knew that it could not be a long-term solution, even to reunification. They were then, the family that originally had James then come forward and asked for removal upon discovering that they were expecting. So they had asked for a removal of James. James was placed with a home in Onaway. Seth was placed in a home in Posen. The home that Seth is placed in is a home. They have 7 children right now already in the home, but they are a long-term foster home that can meet Seth's extensive needs. And they were not able to take both James and Seth based on Seth's needs. Now they are willing to. I want you to know that they are willing to take both of them, but right now they are considered to be full at a licensing statute with 8 children in the home. So there would be a requirement there to jump through some hoops. So that is why James is not with Seth currently, as well as trying to get Seth stabilized and in a better spot before we try to bring James over, if that's going to be an option.
All right, so if there is an opening to have both the children together, you do intend to place both children together once that is available?
That is correct.
All right, thank you. I appreciate it. I have no further questions. Did anyone else have any questions based on mine?
I have none.
No, thank you.
No, Your Honor.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Hughes. Appreciate your testimony. Mr. Sommerfeld, any other evidence or witnesses today?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Delaney, any witnesses or evidence today?
Let me just indicate to Sarah, you're not required to testify, but if there's something that hasn't been said today that you want the court to be aware of, I can call you as a witness. Did you want to speak to the court?
If I could for a minute.
Okay.
All right, Sarah, let me swear you in. If you raise your right hand, please. You swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
All right. State your full name and spell your last name, and then Mr. Delaney can ask you some questions.
My name is Sarah Smith, S-M-I-T-H.
Go ahead, Mr. Delaney.
Sarah, is there something that you either wish to clarify from what's been said today or add to?
Yes.
Go ahead.
For the housing situation, a place that I mentioned to Kelly that we were found wound up turning out to be a scam online. So we are not able to move forward on that, but I am still continuing to look. We are looking at 4 other places currently that I have messaged people about to get information and applications for. For my health concerns recently, Kelly is correct. I was hospitalized for about 4 days, possibly looking at might be going back. I have bronchitis on the verge of pneumonia. My lungs are starting to fill with fluid. So I have been quite sick lately. On top of that, for the employment, I am working at the golf course, and I wound up having found out, just like Kelly did, about the job at the Odawa Casino. I had been trying to figure out what was going on and trying to figure out how to resolve that issue. I was told that I am rehireable in about 4 months.
Is the golf course job seasonal because of the weather in Gaylord, or would that be year round?
It is seasonal, but once they reopen next year, since I am an employee, that I will be going back. But during like October time and August is where they start shutting everything down, and I'll be having to find other work until then.
And are you hoping to return to Odawa, or is that out of the picture now?
I am looking at trying to return back to Odawa Casino, yes.
All right. Anything else you wish the court to be aware of?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Brown, any questions that you have, or any witnesses or evidence, excuse me, any witnesses or evidence?
I have nobody to call as a witness, Your Honor. I don't know if Mr. Pace would like to say anything, but I wouldn't request to be sworn in.
Mr. Pace, do you have anything that you wish to add?
I do not at this time.
All right, thank you. Mr. Gilo, is there anything from you?
This is the Pace children, Judge.
Yes.
Well, my conversation with the foster parent, James, continues to do well. Seth is very happy. He loves where he lives, and he loves visiting his brother twice a week. And that's all I have to add.
All right, thank you. Closing statements then. Mr. Summerfeld?
Judge, I'd ask the court to adopt the recommendations. We just got the results of 2 psychological evaluations. They brought up some new issues. The parents deserve some time to, address those issues that have been identified. Some need to be ruled out. Sounds like Ms. Hughes is on top of it and taking steps to do that. I would ask that the psychological evaluation, the recommendations for both parents be incorporated into the plan for reunification. And in order to provide proper services, the department through Wellspring Lutheran Services will need releases from the parents so that we can send that psychological evaluation to service providers, and perhaps based upon the contents of both of those evaluations, they would be able to better tailor the services they are providing to meet the needs that were identified in the psychological. Ms. Hughes, her plan for having a longer parenting time, in my view, that it sounds good because, an hour's worth of time is not that much, and 2 hours could be more telling, or could, identify things that parents could work on that weren't being identified just because of the short duration. And I'd ask the court to continue the goal of reunification and the current placement of the children. Thank you.
Mr. Delaney, your comments.
Just briefly, Judge, we agree with the goal. The parents do deserve the time, and I'm confident that Sarah will sign any releases that are necessary. Thank you.
Mr. Brown,
No objections to the recommendations, Your Honor.
Mr. Gilo, anything else?
No, Judge.
All right. I want to say thank you to Ms. Hughes. I appreciate the good information in both in the report and the testimony today. As to the parents, you guys are doing okay, but you're not doing great. And I'd really like to start seeing you do great. Great means putting a little more effort into what you're doing as we go forward. These are your kids, and they're only small once. You're missing out on time with them, and I don't want that to happen. So the more that you can do to get rid of these barriers, the more that you can do to cooperate, the more that you can do to keep in contact with Wellspring, the better off it's going to be for everybody. Studies over the years have shown that the more contact the kids have with their parents, the better they do, both socially, emotionally, educationally, and in their relationships. So the more that you can do to cooperate with Wellspring, the more that you can do what the psychological evaluations say and follow those recommendations, the better off everybody is going to be. I am going to continue the goal of reunification. I do think that Mr. Pace and Ms. Smith need an opportunity to follow through with the recommendations, both in the first psychological evaluation and with any follow-up that needs to be done to rule out certain issues. So I'm going to give them that opportunity, but I want you to take it seriously. Really work at what these recommendations are. Keep doing that. You're making progress, but it needs to be better. And so as long as you're making good progress, we should be all right. So having said all of that, I am going to follow the recommendation that Seth and James remain in the care and supervision of the court and of Department of Health and Human Services. We're going to continue their current placements, hoping that the children can be placed together as soon as possible once that becomes available. We are going to have Sarah and Zachary comply with their parent agency treatment plans and show benefit. And I'm going to ask Wellspring and MDHHS to incorporate the psychological evaluations, and parents must follow those recommendations and show benefit from those treatment programs developed from the psychological evaluations. Seth and James can remain in the unrelated licensed foster care homes. Parenting time for Sarah and for Zachary will remain supervised. I am in agreement with the idea to change it to 2-hour parenting times once a week for each parent to allow for increased education of the parents, increased contact time in a solid block with the children, and also to decrease the child travel. I would ask Wellspring and MDHHS to allow sibling contact as much as possible. I know that's difficult, but as much as they can. I know that the kids would benefit from being with each other because they really enjoy each other's company. So as much as we can do that, even if it's just short, Zoom call or Zoom, just see them so they can recognize that they're there. I think that would be helpful. Then we'll also have Zach and Sarah sign a release of information for their psychological evaluations to be shared with appropriate therapists and treatment providers. And then we'll also ask Wellspring to ensure that Sarah completes the psychiatric evaluation to rule out those things that are brought up in her original psychiatric evaluation. Is there any other relief that any party would request at this time?
No, Judge.
No, thank you.
All right, that will be the order of the court. That's all for today then. Sarah and Zach, keep up the good work, but let's do it a little bit better. I want to hear really, really good things next time we have a review hearing in about 90 days. All right. Thank you very much. That's all for today. I have received DHHS court report dated May the 9th of 25, case service plan dated 4/30 of 25, parent agency treatment plans, plural, dated 4/30 of 25, and drug screen results from Dad Dylan dated March 13th through May 1st of this year. Is there any other documentation, Mr. Sommerfeld?
No, Judge.
All right. Any objection to the court considering all of that documentation and making its decision today?
No objection.
No, Your Honor.
No, thank you.
Oh,
All
yeah.
right, that will be received. Mr. Sommerfeld, do you have any witnesses for me today?
I'd like to call Joaquin Solis.
All right, Mr. Solis, could you raise your right hand so I can swear you in and take your testimony? You swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, I do.
You'd state your full name, spell your last name for the record, please.
Joaquin Solis, Solis.
Thank you. Mr. Sommerfeld?
Thank you. Mr. Solis, how are you employed?
I'm a foster care worker for Otsego County DHHS.
Okay, and are you familiar with Axel Robbins?
Yes, I am. He's a kiddo on my caseload.
All right, and you're providing services to the parents and also the children.
That's correct.
All right. And the documents identified, except for the drug screens, you did author those case service plans, parent agency treatment plans, and court report?
Yes, I did.
I know you and I talked a little bit about this case. I asked you a question about, Dad has had a couple positive drug screens for cocaine. They were recent, about a month apart. Can you just tell us about that? Because one of the issues that brought this case into care was drug use with, you know, the parents and in the presence of Axel.
Sure. So I've spoken to Dylan about both positive screens. He has admitted that those are correct. He is doing substance abuse services through Bear River. I spoke to him this morning. His initial appointment with Bear River was in March, and then he attended appointments through April. He stated that he had some problems with his insurance. He hasn't been to any appointments from Bear River in the month of May. He did say that that is resolved. He does have a recovery coach at Bear River. He says his intent is to speak to his recovery coach and revise his recovery plan. He does state that he's committed to reunification efforts with Axel. These were slip-ups. So he is acknowledging, that it was a mistake, and he does have a plan moving forward.
Okay, and Dad, he has he's re-engaged with parenting time after he was released from jail.
That's correct. So he currently has 2 2-hour visits supervised with Axel a week.
Okay, and have you observed any of those visits?
I do. I supervise one of the visits, and we're allowing his mother to supervise the other one. The visits really are going well. Dylan is appropriate with Axel. He is in communication with the foster parent as far as rules in the home. Axel is really struggling with behaviors surrounding visits, not necessarily because Dad is doing anything or the contact there. He just, his therapist believes it's because of the trauma that he experienced prior. So he has difficult times after, the last couple of days of the week. Dylan has visits on Wednesday and Thursday. And then Axel has typically shows escalated behaviors in school and in the foster home, and it takes him a couple of days to regulate. But Dylan is aware of this. He talks with the foster mom frequently about things that they're doing in the home surrounding those behaviors. He does try to enforce things like no screen time or limited screen time if Axel is not performing well in school after visits. He's used incentives like going to the park or going to the bowling alley to try and get Axel to remain regulated after visits. So typically, all the visits that I've observed, he does a good job with Axel.
All right. One thing in your report on page 2, the court report, it's something about Axel was having memories regarding the incident and, the statement, mommy stabbed daddy. Is that trauma being addressed by the therapist for Axel?
It is, yes. But given his age, it is difficult for Axel to engage and really bring up those feelings. I stated in the report, when his therapist asks about visits, Axel states that they're good. And he doesn't have any behavioral issues during visits. There's no indication that he's, afraid to go to visits or afraid of dad for any reason. So they are being addressed, as much as they can be by the therapist. Yes.
Okay. And when I look at dad's parent agency treatment plan for the need domains, you've indicated partial progress. Is that a fair representation of where he's at right now?
Yes, yeah, I would say that's fair. Dylan has, in addition to engaging in services through Bear River, he's been focused on obtaining employment. He's currently living with his mom. He's stated that his mother will be relocating out of the house. He has a desire to rent the house from her. So obtaining employment was big for him. So he's really been focused on that this reporting period, but again, he is engaging in substance abuse services. We have submitted a referral for a psychological evaluation. We will be following the recommendations as far as further counseling or parent education services once those are received. I've also submitted a request for a substance abuse assessment for Dylan. So we're awaiting those things. I anticipate in the next few weeks we should be able to complete those. But other than this month, when he stated that there was an insurance issue for him when he started his new job, he has been attending services. And he's also been drug screening weekly.
And so is he consistent with his parenting time with his son?
Yes, he is.
Okay. Now, mom, is she still expecting to be released from the Department of Corrections December of 2025?
Yes.
And I see in your report that she signed up for a whole bunch of services, but is currently waitlisted. These are services through the prison for re-education, reintroduction into society, and the advanced substance treatment program. Is that where she's at right now?
That's correct. And I also noted in the report that she was participating in an advanced substance abuse treatment program, which she did provide proof of completion for. So as noted in her parent agency treatment plan, while she's incarcerated, we have removed substance abuse as a need. I noted in there that we would, upon her release, we would ask for services to resume, just to make sure that she's maintaining her sobriety. But yes, that's correct on the services that she's waitlisted for or has completed.
Okay. Does she have contact with her son?
She does. So Dylan has said that it's okay for her to call during visits. I believe that, again, I only supervised one of the visits. I believe that she's having contact with him almost every visit, if not every visit. She has phone calls with Axel.
Okay. Does he, you said that parenting time was good with his dad. Has he ever said anything about, contact with his mom?
No, not directly. Again, the feedback I get from his therapist is that he states that things are good. He doesn't, again, when he has that phone contact, there's no indication that there is fear there from him. He does, he is, given his age and given the fact that he's at visits and there's usually stuff going on, he is somewhat disinterested. It takes a lot of direction to get him to engage in conversation and redirection when he's not focusing. But Heather's conversations, all of the conversations I've observed are appropriate. She just asks how he's doing, what he's doing in the visit, how school is going, how extracurricular activities are going, things of that nature. So again, with mom as with dad, it's not anything that's being done, during the contact. It's just the trauma and the triggers that it brings up in Axel that, we're seeing some difficult behaviors following the contact.
Okay, mom, it sounds like she's doing everything that she can do while incarcerated, although it is limited.
That's correct. I spoke to Heather on the phone, I believe 2 weeks ago. It does sound like, what is available to her, she is doing.
Okay, are there things that we have done or are still doing? Maybe sending her educational things?
I do. Yeah, I send Heather stuff monthly. I've sent her some trauma-informed parenting worksheets from the workbook. I send her parent agency treatment plan. I give her updates on Axel. We're providing as much as we can through the mail.
Okay, and so you're asking the court to continue the goal of reunification?
Yes, we are.
All right, and you're also asking for discretion for supervised or unsupervised visitation?
Yes.
Is that for both parents? Well, we can't really do unsupervised with mom, but is that more focused on dad then?
At this time, it is, yes.
And well, is there anything else you want to ask the court for or recommend or comment upon?
Not at this time.
All right, thank you. Nothing further, Judge.
Thank you. Mr. Delaney, Cross?
Thank you. Mr. Solis, what are the department's expectations for Heather once she's released?
Very similar to Dylan's, we would ask that she complete a psychological evaluation. Like I said, we removed substance abuse for the time being from her parent agency treatment plan, but we would ask that she resume those services. Before she was incarcerated, Heather was very involved in Bear River Health. So we would ask that she resume those services. And then we would follow the recommendations of her psychological evaluation as far as further counseling or parenting education.
All right, I can ask her, but has she indicated what her plans would be for housing and employment once she's released?
I would let her speak to that. I believe that she would probably reside with her parents upon her release, but I don't want to speak for her.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Mr. Brown, any questions?
Just briefly, please, during your observations of parenting time, how do you feel the bond is between Axel and his dad?
I think they have a very good bond. I think they're close. Dylan is always looking for things to do to, engage with Axel. Like I said, he's very open to speaking with the foster mom, and the redirection and appropriate discipline that I see when there is an issue. He does that very well, and Axel responds to him very well. I would say he has a good bond with Axel.
And he's had some legal troubles in the past here. As far as you're aware, is he currently on any type of probation or anything, or is he all finished with all of that?
No, that's all been resolved.
So everything's been resolved with those matters?
Yes, as far as I'm aware.
All right. And I just have one last question, and I just don't understand it, but it's, you state in your report here that he's been doing well with parenting time. He's actually limited Axel's sugar intake and things because it can cause anxiety.
Mhm.
However, it appears during his counseling, Jeanette Sayer is stating that he may be getting too much sugar, or that Axel reports that some of his behavior is due to all the sugar he gets during visits. So could you kind of clarify that a little?
Yeah, so that was from a report from her, and that came from Axel. She asked about, apparently the therapist asked about it, and Axel had stated that, I can't remember, if it was candy bars or some kind of sweet. You know, so I think, you know, like I said, that's a focus of the foster parent because it really does disrupt him. But I think that was more, you know, something that came from Axel. Dylan does a good job of limiting that stuff. He is aware of the negative consequences of it. And I mean, that's not to say that Axel doesn't have that stuff sometimes, but you know, he's a 6-year-old boy and,
Yeah.
you know, he gets treats sometimes. So, yeah, I guess if that answers your question about that disconnect, I think that was, you know, a report by Axel about something that had happened. I don't think that's reflective of the overall monitoring that goes on during parenting time.
Okay. Thank you very much. I have nothing further, Judge.
Mr. Gilo, any questions?
Not at this time.
Mr. Solis, I think I read somewhere in one of your reports that there was some medical treatment designed to help Axel regulate his behaviors. Is that assisted? Has that not been reviewed? What's the status of that?
I guess I'm unsure of what you're referring to.
I thought there was some medications that he was going to be taking.
Oh, I apologize. Yes, no, he is on medications right now. It's on page 1 of my report. He's been on these medications for quite some time now. He is currently taking Capve for his anxiety and emotional regulation and Quilichu for his ADHD.
I'm just wondering if there's been any noticeable change in his regulation of his behaviors given the medication, or whether that needs to be reviewed again.
I don't think it's a medication issue. Like I said, he's been on it for some time. It has significantly helped him. His last school year was very difficult before he was on medication, and we've seen a great improvement in his performance at school and behaviors in the home because of the medications.
Is there any other assistance that we can provide to Axel to help him through this trauma-induced problem that he's having?
There's not been any recommendations from his therapist. The department has talked about possibly seeing if his therapist believes it would be appropriate to integrate dad into some of the sessions, just so he has a better idea of what's going on and how he can address that. But we haven't had any formal recommendations from her at this time.
All right, thank you. That's all the questions I have. Mr. Summerfield, any other witnesses or evidence that you want to adduce today?
No, Judge.
Mr. Delaney, any witnesses or evidence?
Let me ask Heather, is there anything that you want to tell the court that the court might not know about the information provided? You're not required to, but I didn't want to leave your participation out.
She's still muted.
Yeah, we can't hear you.
I just clicked on asked to unmute, but it'll take a couple seconds.
It'll be a minute before it gets unmuted, but we're working on it.
Sorry.
All right.
Heather, can you hear me? Okay. Raise your hand if you do want to speak to the court.
Okay, she's unmuted.
All right.
Okay, there she
Go
is.
ahead, talk now. I believe she's unmuted.
Okay, did you want to, the court would place you under oath. Did you want to testify and tell the court anything?
No, Joaquin handled everything.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Brown, any witnesses or evidence?
I have no witnesses, Your Honor. I don't know if Mr. Robbins wants to make a statement, but I do have no witnesses.
All right, Mr. Robbins, anything that you want to add for the court's benefit?
No, I'm good at this time.
All right, Mr. Gilo, anything from you, witnesses or evidence?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
All right, closing statements then, Mr. Summerfeld.
Judge, I'd ask the court to adopt the recommendations, albeit today I think it was generally a positive report. Things are going in the right direction. This case may seem long, but it's more of an artificial long because it took us a while to get to adjudication where the parents were required to do stuff, even though they did some stuff even prior to that. I'd ask the court to order that the parents engage and then benefit in the services. The goal remain reunification, and give Mr. Solis the ability or discretion for supervised or unsupervised as it relates to dad. And just generally, tell the parents to keep going in this direction because it sounds positive.
Mr. Delaney.
Just briefly, I think Heather is doing almost everything she can under the circumstances, and I think she's aware that December will be here, hopefully before she knows it. And then when she gets out, that she really begins to hit a stride with the court on solidifying the plan to reunify with the children.
Mr. Brown.
Your Honor, I think this case is going very well right now. It is, as Mr. Sommerfeld stated, it had kind of a slow start. However, it seems to be picking up. Mr. Robbins is doing very well. I do know that he had a couple of slip-ups with some positives. However, he was very honest with Mr. Solis about it. He is taking steps to correct the situation. Your Honor does drug court, so I'm sure you're aware that those things, we kind of expect a little slip up here and there, but again, he is taking, he's being very proactive with it. Visits seem to be going well. He's got a very nice bond with Axel. And I think it's doing well, and I'm looking forward to getting this case moving along to maybe even some overnights within the next couple of reporting periods.
Mr. Gilo, any comments?
No, not at this time, Judge. I can't add anything to what the attorneys have said and the professionals that have testified before the court.
All right, thank you. Well, I do want to say to the parents, keep up the good work. I enjoy hearing about parents that are doing the best that they can. Mom, I know that your abilities are somewhat limited by where you're at right now, and I recognize that, and I'm not trying to have any unrealistic expectations, but I do expect you to do as much as you can where you're at. Continue to use the information that's being sent to you by Mr. Solis, and I need you to hit the ground running when you get out and get back here. So let's be ready for that. Dad, I do want to say I really like what I'm hearing about your continued good behavior and good actions towards Axel, the way that you're interacting with him and cooperating with the foster care placement. I think that's absolutely the best thing that you can do for Axel right now. He's got to be missing both you and his mom. I'm sure that's part of why he's acting out a little bit. And the more that you can cooperate with the department and with the foster care placement, the better it's going to be for him in the long run. And that tells me that you're really tuned into what he's trying to do. So I appreciate that. Having said all those good things, I got to comment on the slip-ups. Mr. Brown is right. It's not that we don't understand it, but I still don't want it to happen. Your substance abuse issues should not get in the way of Axel's being reunited with both you and or his mom. And I'm worried, especially with your going back to the same stuff that got this whole case started, that's going to be what's going to happen. I don't want you to start fading out away from him because suddenly substance abuse becomes more important to you than he is. And so you've got to make a hard break from this. I know there was a continuous positive for marijuana. And all I'm going to say about that is, in my experience as a drug court judge, one thing leads down a slippery slope to many other bad things. And if you're really serious about putting Axel first, you get rid of the substances, period. Whether they're legal or not, whether they're helpful or not, you get rid of them because you're in sole pursuit of the most important thing, which is getting Axel back as quickly as possible. All right. So
Understood.
having said all of that, I'm confident that you will. So I'm just putting it out there to kind of as a little pat on the back and a little kick in the butt to get down the road in the right direction. So keep up the good work and let's not be fooling around anymore. All right. So having
Sounds
said
good.
all that, I will follow the recommendations. I believe that the goal of reunification is appropriate. The parents are making positive steps, and I want to encourage them to keep doing that. I will find that the placement is appropriate. It says out-of-home placement is still necessary because of the barriers of the parents, including their housing, their substance abuse, and their incarceration. But I don't believe that those cannot. I believe those can be overcome, but they're not able to do that at the moment, so that out-of-home placement still continues to be necessary at this moment. We will continue the child Axel as a temporary ward of the court and his referral to the MDHHS for placement, care, and supervision. I will give MDHHS continued discretion as to supervised or unsupervised parenting time for dad, and that we expand parenting time when the department deems that to be appropriate. Heather and Dylan, mom and dad, will continue with their respective parent agency agreements and treatment plans and demonstrate consistent benefit. And I would include in that parent agency treatment plans any ongoing or future psychological evaluations, and that parents will follow any recommendations that come from that. They will also follow any and all substance abuse treatment recommendations, and those should be incorporated into the parent agency treatment plans as well as they are done in the future. I do find that in the past, reasonable efforts have been made, and they should be continued to be made to work towards reunification. That the child's needs can be best met in foster care for the reasons that I stated on the record, and that a review hearing will be done in approximately 30 days, approximately 90 days. Any other relief from the attorneys that would be requested?
No, you're
Oh,
No, thank you.
All right, that will be the order of the court then. Thank you all very much. Good luck, mom and
Thank
dad.
you.
Larry Brown representing an unknown father.
Gary Gilo on behalf of the child.
All right, I do see Ms. Turner here from Wellspring, Ms. Doherty here from the department. I do note that mom has previously had her parental rights terminated, and dad is unknown. And the last court hearing, we adjudicated the father. I have received a report from Wellspring. Any other documentation to be considered, Mr. Sommerfeld?
no, Judge, that's it.
All right. Any objection to that being considered by the court?
No objection?
No objection.
All right, that will be admitted. Witnesses, Mr. Sommerfeld?
Normally Brittany Molnar is here, but I see, is it Jahada Turner?
Yes,
Okay,
Hi.
are you taking over for Brittany today?
yes, I am. I'm going to be taking over permanently because Brittany moved up a position.
Okay. So Judge, I'd like to call Jahada Turner, please.
All right, Ms. Turner, would you raise your right hand so I can swear you in? You swear the
Yes.
testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes,
All right, you can put your hand down. Could you tell us your full name and spell your last name for the record, please?
Jahada Turner, Turner.
All right, Mr. Sommerfeld, you go ahead with your questions.
Thank you. Miss Turner, how are you employed?
I'm employed at Wellspring Lutheran Services as a foster care worker team lead.
Okay, and are you familiar with Kamisik Williams?
Yes, I am.
And how do you know that child?
He's a foster child that's placed with relatives through Wellspring Lutheran Services.
Okay, and are you providing services for this child now?
Yes,
Okay, and Kamisik, he has been placed with his grandparents, right? Or is it
No.
an uncle?
maternal relatives.
Okay, and that placement has historically been reported as a great place. Is it still doing well?
Yes, it is.
All right, and are there any unmet needs at that placement for Kamisik?
No, there's no unmet needs. He completed during this reporting period He completed early on services, no further recommendations for him.
Okay, so he's meeting appropriate milestones and developmental levels.
Yes, he is.
All right. And does the child have a bond in that placement?
A very good bond. Yes.
All right. So, well, I got a report from Miss Molnar. Are you familiar with that report?
Yes, I've read it over.
Okay, so you would be able to answer questions regarding the content of that report.
That's correct.
Okay, and when did you start taking over services in this case from Miss Molnar?
I want to say within the week. Yeah. So within the week, I'm familiar with the case as well. Before Ms. Manar got the case, I had the case at one point, so I'm pretty familiar with the case. So I actually received the case back. I've had the case in the beginning stages.
Okay, so has your agency or the department that you know of, have we had any contact with an unknown father here for Kamisik?
No, we haven't. We've
Okay.
done our searches and we have not had any contact. Whereabouts continues to be unknown.
Okay, and I see that if he were to engage with the department or through Wellspring, that there has been a plan created for purposes of reunification.
That's correct.
Okay, and so I'm looking at, this is page 2 of the report, and says obtain, maintain suitable housing, maintain a legal source of income, complete parenting classes, psychological evaluation, follow recommendation, and supervised parenting time. Is that the plan that you would like the court to implement for this unknown father?
That is correct.
All right. And I don't know much to say beyond that. We talked about the child and we've had no contact with unknown father. We have a plan here for reunification. If he were to engage with the department, will you continue your efforts through Wellspring and through the Department of Health and Human Services, your efforts in location like you have historically been doing?
Yes, we will continue that. I will continue that.
Okay. And will you be able to detail that effort in your report next time when we come back
Yes.
here in 90 days?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, and so there is a statutory ground, MCLA 712A.19B3, and I think it's A2. It's under the abandonment statute. If there's still no contact at that time, at the next reporting period, we will be asking to file a termination petition based upon satisfying the grounds for abandonment more than 90 days.
Yes.
All right. Is there anything else you'd like to offer or tell the court? Anything?
No, nothing else.
Okay. How's your interaction with Kamisik?
In the past, I've had a good interaction, very good bond. Brittany, did the visits. I haven't had a chance to go out for a home visit yet. She did inform the family that I'll be working with them. They were excited, because I'm familiar with them as well. So I'm looking forward to it.
All right. So he's not yet started school. He's just over 3 years old.
He's in preschool, per her report. I'm trying to see what page that's on. I think it's on page 2. No, on page 1 in the beginning. And he's doing well. He's a preschooler.
Okay.
Yes. And he's also taking swimming classes as well.
All right. Okay. Well, If you have nothing further, Judge, that'll be it here.
Mr. Brown, any questions?
Just a couple, Your Honor. Ms. Turner, it was mentioned by Ms. Molnar in a previous hearing that there was a potential name in Anthony Taylor. He was contacted but never returned a call. Is that still the case?
Yes, there's no, per her report, no contact. There's been searches. It's been an iChat actually recently been done on him, and nothing at this time.
All right. And is the department still, let's see here. Looks like they were checking, doing quarterly searches. Is that still what the department is doing?
Yeah, we're continuously doing searches through the different sites just to see if we can locate him.
All right. Thank you very much. I have nothing further, Judge.
Mr. Gilo, as the GAL, any questions?
Not at this time, Judge. Thank you.
All right, ma'am, I have no questions for you either. Thank you very much for coming in today. Appreciate your help and look forward to seeing you the next time as well. Mr. Sommerfeld, any other witnesses or exhibits?
None, Judge.
Mr. Brown, any witnesses or exhibits?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
Mr. Gilo, any witnesses or exhibits?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, closing statements, Mr. Sommerfeld?
Judge, today is the date and time for this position. We recently got adjudication after a bench trial. The court found there was jurisdiction. The court report indicates a plan. I have stated that, and Ms. Turner has confirmed that this is the plan for reunification. So we got a plan in place. It is for reunification. All that's necessary is when and if there is participation by an unknown father at this time. So I'd ask the court to adopt that plan in the hopes that someone will appear as a dad, parent, and start doing some services here. Kamisik historically has been with the Williams almost exclusively. I think there was in the beginning of the case, there was another placement, but he has been with the Williams essentially for probably 95% of his life, and he has done very well there. We've always heard very good reports, and also that Kamisik is thriving in their care. We do have termination of parental rights on mom. We're just doing the procedural unknown father and giving someone an opportunity to engage in process after proper publication to potentially get involved with Kamisik. Otherwise, he will achieve permanency on probably through an adoption with the Williams, which, you know, for all purposes has been a great placement, and also it is relative placement. So all those things I'd ask for. I don't know, Ms. Turner's just brand new to this case. I don't know if Mr. Gilo has a short report, but other than that, that's what I'm asking the court to adopt today.
Mr. Brown, your comments.
Your Honor, at this time, it does seem to be, at least as regards my client, a procedural matter. If and when he is identified and reaches out to me, I will take that up at that time.
All right. Mr. Gilo, any reports for us or any other closing statements?
Well, the only thing I'd indicate to the court, and I think the court's well aware of it, he's doing really well where he is and where he's placed. It appears he's going to have a good placement based on what the department's saying, and I agree with that.
All right. Thank you all very much. I appreciate that. I do find the recommendations are appropriate. The goal of reunification will remain as the plan due to the fact that there has been an unknown father at this point. Hopefully he will appear And I asked the department and Wellspring to continue to look and search on a regular basis, quarterly at least, until further order from the court. I do find that out-of-home placement continues to be appropriate, given the fact of the unknown father and determination of the mother, termination of the parental rights of the mother. I believe that the relative placement is appropriate, and I would commend them. And if Wellspring could pass on my thanks to them, I would appreciate that. I do believe that that's the least restrictive, most family-like placement. I would ask that reasonable efforts continue, at least until there is a termination petition or a permanency plan change to adoption. I do find that the reasonable efforts have been made in the past, and would ask that they can continue. And that custody of the child, or excuse me, placement of the child with anybody other than the current placement would present a reasonable, substantial risk of harm to the child. And we will set a review hearing in 90 days. And if there's no further contact from the parents, I will expect a termination or a permanency placement change to adoption at that point, terminating the parental rights of the unknown father. Any other relief requested from the attorneys?
No,
All right, that will be the order of the court. And that's all for today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
This is the continuation of the preliminary examination. I believe that we adjourned last time to allow Mr. Delaney to review some documentation about current or previous guardianship matters. Mr. Delaney, have you had an adequate opportunity to do that and to discuss those with your client?
I have, and we're prepared to proceed today.
How are we to proceed today?
Well, I think that these petitions are not different than when they're brought by DHS. And so the first issue would be authorizing the petition, which this is set for the probable cause hearing. Once that occurs, then I think the court would then set it for a pretrial, and we'd be looking at a trial or a plea for jurisdiction. And then the petition seeks termination. So I think it's going to go through the ordinary routes that a petition would have for if it was brought by the state.
And I appreciate that. I guess I should have asked my question a little more specifically. Does your client wish to enter a plea today, or do you want to have just the authorization of the petition and then move forward to the pretrial and do a plea or an adjudication at a later time?
That's correct. I think we would have the
Right.
petition reviewed for authorization today. And I've explained to my client the burden of proof relative to that first hearing. So we would start there, and then the court would set it for a pretrial.
My next follow-up question, Mr. Delaney, then, as to the authorization of the petition, do you wish to have proofs taken today, or do you waive that and admit to the jurisdiction of the court?
My client will request that proofs be presented.
All right. Ms. Bailey Quick, are you ready to proceed with proofs as to the authorization of the petition?
I am, Your Honor.
All right. Do you have a witness that I can listen to?
I do. I would call Javetta Topol.
All right, ma'am, could you raise your right hand so I can swear you in to take your testimony? You swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
All right, could you state your full name for the record and spell your last name, please?
Javetta Lynn Topol, Topel.
All right, Ms. Bailey Quick, go ahead.
Thank you. Give me one moment. Ma'am, the minor child involved in this case is Rebelyn Frost, and she is related to you in what way?
She is my niece.
Right? And how long has Rebelyn been in your care and custody?
Since June of 2022, I've had her.
All right.
And I got guardianship in September of 2022.
How did it come to be that you obtained guardianship of Rebelin?
My sister had guardianship of her, and she thought that she would be better suited with me and a better school, and I could just do more for her education and give her a more stable living environment.
All right, and your sister that had guardianship prior to you, what is her name?
Jamie Nicole Frost.
How did it come to be that Jamie had guardianship of Rebelin?
My brother had full sole legal everything custody.
And your brother's name?
Jesse Frost.
Okay. And where did Jesse have sole legal and physical custody of Rebelin?
The mother, Jessica Frost, did not pick her up, and as far as I know, completely abandoned her.
Okay, but what,
And
how did
he went to court and showed cause to get full custody, and Jessica did not show up to court and fight for that.
all right, and that was through Shiawassee Family Circuit Court?
Yes.
Okay. And then ultimately, what precipitated your sister receiving guardianship of Rebelin?
Jesse had an alcohol problem, and he overdosed, I guess, or something happened where he ended up in the hospital on a respirator and in a coma, and my sister went to the courts and got emergency guardianship of her so that she was safe.
Okay, and ultimately, how old was Rebelin when your sister received guardianship?
Almost 5.
Okay. At that point, had Rebelin had, what contact did you have with Rebelin at that point?
At that point, I only seen her, they lived downstate, I didn't see her a lot. So when my sister got guardianship, I told her I would help her and I would take her every weekend and every break from school. And I immediately started doing that so that Rebelin could get to know me.
All right. And so what year was it that you started doing the every weekend? And
it was October of 2020.
Okay. Since that time, when you became more involved in Rebelin's life, how would you describe her education?
When I first started seeing her, she was very shy, barely spoke, could not read, didn't know her numbers. She could count to about 16. And I think she was almost 6, not 5. I'm wrong on that. But she couldn't count to past 16. She didn't know the word and or the, like, very, very could not. She was only in kindergarten, but she didn't know her numbers or letters properly even. And now she's reading and she's flourishing, doing great. She has an IEP at school and she's doing amazingly well compared to how she was when we first got her.
Okay. How would you describe her medical care at that point when you first began having regular contact with her?
I know that when my sister first got her and started seeing her, she had to take her and get her medical care because actually that would have been when my brother had her, that she wasn't taken care of well, but when my sister got her, she started taking her to the doctor and stuff. But when my brother had her, she was covered in chigger bites and ticks in his armpits, but that was when he got her back from Jessica, and he had to take her and get her medical care for that because she was kind of neglected, kind of dirty and not really taken care of. But once my sister got her, she took very good care of her.
Okay. Did you have regular contact with your sister since the guardianship was put in place by Clinton County?
Yes.
All right. And do you know without any hesitation whether or not Jessica had any contact at all with Rebelin from the time the guardianship was put in place?
None.
Do you know whether or not she attempted to have contact with Rebelin from the time the guardianship was put in place?
No.
Since even Jessica has appeared in these proceedings, has she attempted to contact you to try and inquire as to Rebelin's well-being?
No.
Do you know whether or not, since the guardianship was first put in place, whether Jessica ever tried to initiate any type of physical or telephone contact with Rebelin?
None.
Do you know whether or not Jessica ever sent cards, letters, or presents to Rebelin since the guardianship was put in place?
None.
There was no way to.
Ma'am,
Hold
you're
on.
gonna have a chance to speak, but you can't do that right now. I have to give each side a chance to go, and then you'll have a chance in a minute. So just hold your comments, please.
Okay.
Other than tax inceptions in the last 2 years, well, we'll even say 3 years, are you aware of any financial support from Jessica for Rebelin?
No, she never willingly made any payments.
I paid child support.
Ma'am, again, you're gonna have a chance to say what it is that you need to say, but now's not the time. So you're just gonna have to keep your comments to yourself while Ms. Bailey Quick is asking questions of this witness. So you will have an
Sorry.
opportunity, but it's not right now. And so we have to do these things in order. So go ahead, Ms. Bailey Quick.
Thank you. At any point, are you aware whether or not Jessica ever updated her contact information with Clinton County or the Otsego County Probate Court so that contact could be effectuated with Rebelin?
None.
Okay. Had Jessica ever participated in any of the guardianship proceedings, either in Clinton County or Otsego County Probate Court?
No.
And are you aware from your involvement in both of those counties in the probate court proceedings, whether multiple attempts were made both in Missouri and locally in St. John's and in the Otsego County Probate Court, multiple attempts at sending notices and contact with Ms. Husted?
Yes.
Your Honor, I have nothing further at this time.
Mr. Delaney, do you have any questions for this witness?
Yes. And so what is your family relationship with Jessica Frost?
She is my ex-sister-in-law.
Okay. Working most recently and then backwards, I think you indicated you became the guardian in September of 2022. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And is the guardianship file in Otsego County, the one I'm referencing, is that now closed, if you know?
No, it's still open.
Okay. And I realize that the lawyers mail out the paperwork and all that information. So if you don't know, that's acceptable. Do you know if in the Otsego guardianship case, if notices of any hearings and anything else were sent to Jessica Frost, if you know.
They were sent to her last known address.
Okay, and do you know what that last known address is or was?
I don't. I've
But-
seen it, but I can't tell you what it is off the top of my head, no.
Do you know how that address was obtained? I mean, someone gave that address to the attorney. And was it Miss Bailey Quick that was handling the guardianship?
Yes,
Okay. Did you give her the information with respect to the address, if you remember?
they were on court paperwork that I received from my sister. It was one address in Owasso and one in Missouri.
During the time that you've had Revelin, other than those addresses that were in the court file, did you make any attempts to try to locate or contact Jessica? Facebook, telephone, anything like that?
No, the only Facebook page I could find hadn't been updated for years. So I didn't even know if it was real.
In the guardianship file that we're speaking of in Otsego County, if you know, and again, I know the lawyers handle a lot of this, so you may not. There was a hearing in the paperwork that your attorney provided me, where in 2023, Judge Cooper asked the Department of Human Services to investigate this matter. And as you may know, the Department of Human Services is the public arm for termination of parental rights, and they handle child cases. But in that case, in 2023, Judge Cooper requested DHS to investigate this matter. And then there was a hearing on August 1st of 2023, at least according to the paperwork, about that. And having given you that long question, do you recall if that occurred, or do you know anything about that? And again, I know that's the lawyer language here. Do you understand what my question is?
They came to my house and did a home check and talked
Okay.
to
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
they came and made sure that our house was safe and everything, and it was.
Any chance you remember who the worker was that came?
I believe his name was Tristan. I don't know his last name.
Did, if you know, did Tristan file a report, a written report with the court, and you saw a copy if that occurred?
I don't recall seeing a copy.
Okay. Was there a hearing on August 1st, or at least in 2023, and wherein Tristan appeared and testified or offered the report to the court, if you recall?
I don't recall.
Do you know if Tristan, if his investigation included the whereabouts of Jessica Frost, since she's the biological mother? Do you know if that included that?
I don't.
This guardianship previously was in Montcalm County in 2022, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then before that in 2020 in Clinton County, correct?
Correct.
Did you attend any of the hearings in 2022 and 2020, or were you just not involved?
I did not attend any of the hearings.
Okay. And were you also not involved in the Clinton and Montcalm counties?
I was not involved legally, no.
Okay. The addresses that you used in Otsego County for Jessica Frost, did you indicate you obtained those addresses from the Clinton in Mount Com files or,
I believe so, or I got them from my sister.
okay. I have no further questions.
All right, Ms. Bailey Quick, any follow-up questions based on the cross?
No, Your Honor.
All right. I have no further questions as well. Any other witnesses or exhibits, Ms. Bailey Quick?
Yes, I do have one additional witness who is logging or who is logged into the Zoom room. It's Officer Michael Brown.
Mike's iPhone is probably him.
Yes.
Money.
All right, he'll be let in shortly.
He is in there.
All right, Mr. Brown, are you with us today?
Yes, sir.
All right, I do see you now. This is Judge Hesslink. I'm coming to you from the family court in Gaylord. I understand that you've been asked to be a witness today in the Rebelin Frost matter. Could you raise your right hand so I can swear you in to take some testimony?
Yes,
You
sir.
swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, sir.
All right, could you state your full name and spell your last name for the record, please?
Michael Brown, Brown.
All right, Ms. Bailey Quick, we'll have some questions for you, followed by Mr. Delaney, who's the attorney for the mother. Ms. Bailey Quick, go ahead.
Thank you. Officer Brown, where are you currently employed?
The St. John's Police Department.
Thank you, and how long have you been employed there?
No, almost 18 years.
And were you employed there on November 22nd, 2020?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you working in your official capacity on November 22nd, 2020 at St. John's Police Department?
Yes.
Okay. I reviewed a field contact report that involved you and a Jessica Frost. Have you had an opportunity to review that field contact?
Briefly, yes.
Okay. Do you recall having a conversation with Jessica Frost after she received paperwork that Jessie Frost was in a coma and that Jamie Frost was trying to get guardianship of her daughter?
Yes.
Okay. Do you recall any information further about her whereabouts at that time?
I believe she was in Missouri.
And do you recall giving her any further information or advice?
Yes, I told her she'd have to come up here to talk with friend of the court to be able to get further information.
Based on your conversation with Miss Frost at that time, did you have any hesitation that she was aware of Mr. Frost's current capacity and that he was in a coma?
I don't recall that information. I would have to refer back to my field contact.
Okay. Did you have any hesitation based on your field contact or your conversation with her that she, let me rephrase my question. Based on your telephone conversation with her, was it clear that she knew there was guardianship proceedings pending involving her daughter?
I believe so. But also I recall telling her that she requested that I remove the child, and I advised her that I can't do that without PPS or a court order. And I think that's where our conversation had ended.
Okay. Thank you. I don't have anything further. I appreciate it.
Officer, Mr. Delaney, who's the attorney for the mother, may have some questions for you. Mr. Delaney, any questions?
I do not have questions. Thank you.
All right. Officer, I have no further questions for you as well. Thank you very much for showing up today. I appreciate your input. You're free to go.
Thank you, sir. Have a good day.
Two. Ms. Bailey Quick, any other evidence or witnesses?
Not at this time. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Delaney, any evidence or witnesses that you wish to adduce today?
Not at this time. And since my client is appearing by Zoom and we've only recently met, I just want to state to her today is not the hearing or the trial on whether the court will have jurisdiction or terminate parental rights or an adoption. The only question is, will the court file this petition and authorize it? And then it'll set it for a hearing to determine a trial. So I'm not going to call you as a witness at this time, but you may have an opportunity or will have an opportunity at all future proceedings to testify. Okay, Jessica?
Okay.
Okay, so I have no further witnesses.
All right. Ms. Bailey Quick, any closing comments?
Your Honor, there is, it's our position that there's sufficient evidence to substantiate authorization of the petition, and we would ask the court to do that and set this over for pretrial.
Mr. Delaney, your comments.
I have no argument relative to the facts, Judge, except that the probable cause burden is low for the authorization of a petition in a civil matter, and I've advised my client of that. Thank you.
All right. Ms. Frost, I simply wanted to let you know, to confirm what most of the attorneys have already stated, this is not a trial of any manner. It's simply a preliminary hearing at which I have to determine whether or not there's a small amount of proof called probable cause, whether or not the petition should be authorized, and the court should take further steps after that. You have had an attorney with you today, and he will be able to continue to represent you throughout this process, both today and in the future, when you have the right to have a trial if you wish. You can have that in front of the judge. You can have that in front of the jury. You have the right to have it, continue to have your attorney with you. You'll have the right to see all the witnesses, hear all the witnesses, testify for yourself, remain silent as you choose. All of those things you'll have the right to do in the future. But right now, my decision is whether or not there's that small amount of proof called probable cause. It's not just a suspicion. It is a probability to whether there is enough facts to believe that one or more of the allegations in the petition are true and have been supported. The allegations in the petition are three. Basically, that you have neglected or refused to provide proper or necessary support, education, medical, surgical, or other care necessary for the child's health and welfare, and that the child is subjected to substantial risk of harm, or that you have abandoned the child without proper custody or guardianship. Secondly, that the home or environment, by reason of neglect, cruelty, drunkenness, criminality, or depravity on the part of the parent, is an unfit place for the child to live. And or third, that the child has a guardian pursuant to statutes, and that the parent meets both of the following: that you are a parent with the ability to support and has failed or neglected without good cause to provide regular and substantial support for 2 years or more before the filing of the petition, and the parent has the ability to visit, contact, or communicate, and has regularly and substantially failed or neglected without good cause for 2 years or more. And I do find that there is probable cause of all three of those things. Basically, the facts amount to abandonment, knowing of the situation with the father who had a medical emergency and was unable to take care of the child, failing to have any sort of contact for the better part of 5 years, even with that knowledge, and not being involved in the guardianship proceedings in various counties and with various family members for that 4 or 5 year period of time, does give me a probable cause belief that there is to believe that the abandonment or the neglect or the refusal to parent appropriately and support appropriately has taken place. And we will authorize the petition and set it for a pretrial conference Is there any indication that the child has any Indian blood and would be subject to the stricter versions of the code for Indians?
No, Your
Right.
Honor.
I see Ms. Bailey Quick saying no to that. And is there any question or any concern about the current placement of the child? Everything appears to be good there. And Ms. Bailey Quick, you're asking that that continue?
Yes,
All
Your
right,
Honor.
that does appear to be the most family-like, least restrictive environment to me as well. Any other relief that you're requesting, Ms. Bailey Quick?
Not at this time.
Anything else that you're asking for, Mr. Delaney?
Just that I believe the guardian ad litem is Mr. Gilo, and that he continued to receive notices and for participation at the future hearings.
Yes, I will certainly send that documentation to him and ask for his presence and participation. We'll set a pretrial. You'll get notices from the court as to that, and we'll move forward then. Thank you all very much for today's proceedings.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.